Hi guys, Julia here. So today I will be planting my dahlia tubers in pots, and I also will be dividing some of the tubers that I think are way overgrown. So I will show you how to do that next. Here I have my clump of tubers, and first of all I did label them last fall. That's very important, especially if you have a lot of cultivars that you grow in your garden. You can take off this label for now, but keep it handy so you don't get confused. I also made at least 5 new labels because I think I'm going to get at least 5 plants from this clump. And for the labels, I prefer this particular labels. I will post the link to where you can get them in the comments below. So a lot of people divide dahlias by looking for eyes or new growth. I kind of I have my own method, and you know, it may be different. Everybody has their preferable method of how to do things. So what I'm looking for are old stems. So I keep the stems about 8 inches when I dug them up in the fall, and that's how I store my dahlias. It doesn't bother the plant at all. So when I look at this plant, I can clearly see that this is an old stem. That's one plant right here. There's another old stem. That's another plant. This is an old stem. That's another plant. There's another plant right here, and maybe when I divide the ones on top, there's another one coming up on the bottom. So it does take practice to recognize the divisions, but with practice, you absolutely will be successful. Now, if you are curious about the eyes, and I have one example here. This little growth right here is the eye on dahlia. Now, if you have difficulties identifying them, you can place the tubers for a week or so in a warm environment where they are actually, the eyes are starting to grow, so you can see them easier, because eyes are very, very difficult to identify when they are dry. And I found that if you keep them in a warm and somewhat humid environment, they become more visible. So I hope that helps. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and start dividing this clump. And I don't quite know how to describe it, but I'm being gentle but forceful at the same time when I'm dividing them. So you see this split very easy, and then one of the reasons I also like this method is because it doesn't make a lot of damage to a plant. A lot of times when people cut them, they create a lot of cuts, and it does work. It is absolutely, you can absolutely do it, but I just found this is a little bit like less disturbance to the plant. It's more of a natural way of dividing it. So here I have one plant, and if I wanted to, I could go ahead and start dividing them further, but I actually do like this size of tuber for my plantings in the summer. So I'm going to go ahead and label this plant here, like so. And I'm going to cut the stem now. Okay, yeah. There's my lovely tuber here. This is probably an old mother tuber. I'll just leave it. It'll work its way through the summer with no problem. Okay, one is done. There you go. Again, you kind of work with the stems and you pull it apart. It's almost like, for all the ladies out there, it's almost like taking your rubber band off your ponytail. Like you try to be gentle but forceful at the same time. So it's kind of like the same thing when you're dividing them. So there's an eye right here. Here, I'll show you closer. It's starting to grow. Okay, now let's see. This one I can divide again because this was a stem. I think it broke off, but it was a stem as well. There we go. There is another tuber here. Probably clean up the old stems. So I think I'd leave this one as is. I will label this one. Oops. There we go. I just love these labels. They last forever and ever. All right, let's look at this one here. So there's a mother tuber here, a little bit darker in color. I just leave them. A lot of people cut them away, but I kind of work with nature. You know, let it work it out itself. All right, so I'll leave this one as is. I'll cut the stem. I will label this one as well, right here. Okay. And this is Emory Paul, beautiful, beautiful dahlia, large dinner plate flowers. Love, love, love this plant. The only thing, they have very short stalks, so they're not really great cut flower, but they look awesome in landscape. All right, let's see. Okay, so there's another eye for all of you who are still trying to learn what the eye looks like. And a lot of times they are positioned either directly on the stem or anywhere above the actual tuber. Now, there's one thing I wanted to mention. If you ever, here I have an example. If you have a tuber like this, it will never grow a stem or flower. It's basically just a piece of root. You do need an eye to produce a stem with a flower. So these are just roots, modified roots. They don't produce anything. All right, I think I'm going to go ahead and divide this one again. This one is a little intertwined. Yeah, I might have to cut some tubers here. It's almost like it's hugging one with another. There, you can hear my birdie. It's like always in the background. There we go. Okay, that was a little bit more difficult because you could see the stem started to kind of grow and be intertwined, but you could still do it. No problem. Okay, so we got an eye here, nice root system here. Again, I'll cut this above the new growth here and put a label on. All right, so basically this is how I divide my dahlias, and the next step I will show you how do I plant them. So I start most of my dahlias indoors about 4 weeks prior to the last frost, and I start them in pots. The main idea is that the pot has to be wide enough to accommodate the tuber, because they do grow like they're octopus looking like root system, so they need a lot of space. So you fill a pot about halfway with soil, and I use a regular potting soil. You place your tuber on top, and then you'll fill with soil around it. The one main thing is that you want to keep some of the old stalk above the soil level, so you don't, so it doesn't rot. So like this, pack it in a little bit, not too much. This tuber is sticking out a little bit, so I'm gonna cover this. All right, lovely. And this is it. It's that easy. I will do another example for you because all tubers are individuals, and some of them are a little bit different, and the planting is a little different, so I'll show you another one. 3/4 of the way, you place your tuber on top, and you just start packing the soil around the roots. Pack it nicely. Okay, there's a little eye starting to grow, very, very promising. And this is it. All right, so I just wanted to show you an example of when your tubers start to grow, what it will look like. This one I started about, oh boy, I have these mats everywhere. I started this one about 2 weeks ago, and it started with one eye, but as they start to grow, you'll see that they might develop more stems. And this particular cultivar is this one, High Trio. Right here, the speckled one. I think it's a spectacular looking dahlia. I can't wait to see it. Anyway, I hope you're inspired to grow and start your dahlias indoors. So here I wanted to show you another 2-week-old dahlia, and this one is twice as tall as the other one. It got a little bit leggy, so when I'm putting it outside in a couple of weeks, I might just pinch it on the top, so it'll create some more of the side growth. Anyway, I hope you like this video. If you have any comments or questions, post them in the comment section below, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.